Memorandum of Notice. Sharakhi Indigenous Tribal Nation, SITN. 2. All public officials, agencies, courts, law enforcement departments, corporations, public and private, and any person or entity interacting with the Sharakhi Indigenous Tribal Nation, SITN, or the Global Enforcement and Intelligence Bureau, GEIB, subject, confirmation of sovereign status, jurisdiction and governing law of SITN, and GEIB 1. Sovereign and tax-exempt status. SITN is an unincorporated sovereign tribal government organized and operated as a 508c1a faith-based American Indian tribal government, IRS EIN 9 3-4333729, which is registered in federal databases and state database as an legitimate tribal government, not an institution or organization as false and misleading information that is being shared by Google AI engine. The whole no state or federal government recognizes SITN is a lie and attempted colonial suppression based on discrimination because SITN is in numerous state and federal government databases under tribal government authority. A wave of lawsuits will follow per entity who discriminate against SITN. SITN has state, federal, and court acknowledgement and remain fully autonomous with its own institutions, corporations, organizations, tribal lands, while reclaiming lands in several states. The true American Indians of Aboriginal copper-colored descendants. GEIB is SITN's national security and enforcement arm, operating as a parent enforcement trust under SITN jurisdiction and through incorporated subdivisions, for example, GEIB International Police Division Incorporated, solely for external contractual compliance. Outside agencies acknowledge but do not grant SITN's sovereignty. See U.S. Department of the Interior Federal Acknowledgement Policy Statement. 2. Historical and Genealogical Foundation. SITN citizens descend from Aboriginal Choctaw, Creek, Muskogee, Seminole, Cherokee, and Chickasaw peoples who were reclassified under the 1830 Indian Removal Act, state colored/Negro/Mulatto/Black census categories, the 1900 Virginia Racial Integrity Precedents, Walter Plecker era, and Jim Crow era archival evidence, land BLM patents, probate filings, census rolls, military records, Indian blood types, over 300 years of historical lineage and oral history preserves that continuous lineage. 3. State and federal recognition, what they don't tell you and make it seem as that's the only way a tribe can exist. Tribes existed long before the federal government and United States Corporation Company, and its subdivisions called states, which are also corporations. Why SITN declines state or federal recognition. State pathways require submission to full state civil/criminal jurisdiction and forfeit inherent autonomy. Federal acknowledgement places tribal land in U.S. trust, subjecting every cultural, economic, and environmental decision to Bureau of Indian Affairs review. SITN elects to remain autonomous under its own constitutional charter, trust indentures, and customary law, while retaining all protections already afforded to Indigenous peoples under federal, state, and international law. 4. Governing law and immunities. SITN and GEIB affairs are governed exclusively by tribal and customary law, SITN Constitution and Codes, trust and private law, restatement, third of trusts, common contract and UCC commercial law for external dealings, religious/ecclesiastical law, and 508c1a, Protections International Indigenous Law, UNDRIP 2007, American Declaration 2016, Humanitarian and Geneva Law for GEIB relief operations. No municipal, county, state, federal, or foreign statute has force over SITN or GEIB except by explicit treaty or contract duly executed by the tribal chief and ratified by tribal council resolution. 5. Homeland, assets, and institutions. Tribal lands. patented and deeded holdings in Illinois, with forthcoming reclamations in additional states, government facilities, headquarters and field office, Kankakee, Illinois, plus satellite embassies and secured archives. Citizens, duly enrolled tribal nationals, also U.S. nationals on State Department passports, and resident tribal citizens. Security forces, tribal police marshals, GEIB International Police Division Incorporated, Emergency Response and Humanitarian Corps, and a limited defensive guard. 6. Mandate of GEIB, safeguard SITN sovereignty, citizens, and assets, conduct secret audits of public or private bodies to detect fraud, corruption, or human rights abuses, enforce treaties, trust covenants, and humanitarian standards, liaise with domestic and foreign agencies strictly as an equal sovereign partner. 7. Notice to all recipients. 7.1. Jurisdictional challenge. Any attempt to cite, fine, detain, tax, or otherwise regulate SITN or GEIB personnel, lands, vehicles, or assets will be treated as a breach of international and tribal law. 7.2. Service of process. All notices must be delivered to SITN Office of Tribal Chief at the address above. Electronic service is accepted only with prior written consent. 7.3. Verification. Public officials may verify SITN's federal tax-exempt status via IRS EIN, select check, and may review governing documents at Sharakhi Indigenous Tribal Nation.com. 8. Conclusion. SITN is a sovereign 508c1a tribal government recognized by IRS and protected under U.S. and international indigenous law. Outside agencies do not grant our existence, they only acknowledge it. This memorandum shall accompany all future correspondence where SITN or GEIB jurisdiction, authority, or legitimacy is questioned